Hello everyone and welcome to Willow Cove Crafts, my channel here on YouTube where I talk about knitting and sewing and my other crafty endeavors. My name is Emily and you can also find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, please remember to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Today's video is part 2 in a series where I go through all of my unfinished and languishing knitting and sewing projects and determine if I want to keep them or if I think I will never finish them and need to rip them out. In case you missed last week's video, I definitely recommend you go watch it. I will try and put some sort of clickable link here for you so that you can easily go find it. But last week I went through the first half of my unfinished sweater projects and made some decisions about them. And as promised, this week is the second half of my unfinished sweater projects. So we're gonna make some decisions today, whether to keep them, to frog them, what plans I might have for the yarn if I decide to rip it out, all sorts of discussion and choices to be made today. So anyways, I feel like I'm rambling, so let's get started and talk about some sweaters. First up today we have not really a sweater, but a t-shirt. I included it in the sweater category because it is something you wear on top. But I was working on the Moonset tee by Ozetta. Here's where I'm at. It looks really funny. It's just like a big L at this point. The way this works is this longer strip is actually the back, and then this front piece, or I should say the shorter end of the L is becoming the front piece. And this is a V-neck t-shirt that, obviously this is forming the V-neck. I am knitting this out of Ampersand Fibres. This is their Caslon fingering base, which is a 100% US Corriedale in the color Oat 01. I'll hold it back a little bit so it doesn't get super washed out. And yes, obviously, this is the best I've got for trying this on, but I really love this t-shirt. I anticipate I will finish this. So I actually started this, I want to say in July of this year. It was definitely this past summer, so it's not super old. And then I stopped working on it because I signed up for some test knits. And so then I obviously had to try and get those test knits done. And so this one kind of got abandoned, and yeah, just competing priorities were the reason I didn't get back to this one. And then obviously, by the time I finished the test knits, this was like early fall. And so I was like, I'm not really in the mood to knit a t-shirt because we're coming into winter. And so I do plan to keep this one and finish it. I'll probably maybe get back to it in the spring or summer because it is a summer top. And yes, I definitely think it's gonna be something I wear all the time. I'm a big t-shirt gal. And so having some nice knit t-shirts in my summer wardrobe, I think is something that I will really like to have. So this is a keeper. I feel so awkward today. I always feel awkward talking to myself in my living room, but today, especially, I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry if this video is weird for everyone out there. Next up, we have a sweater that I sadly am going to be frogging, but it's not entirely sad. I will explain why. So this is the, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's either Raga or Raga by Violet McQuade. And I've already taken the needles out, so it's really curling on itself, but this is a very traditional fingering weight Fair Isle sweater. And this is as far as I got. It's clearly knit from the bottom up, and I knit, you know, maybe 5 or 6 inches and decided that it was not for me. Yes, the yarn I am using for this, let me talk about that real quick, is I have a spare ball within reach. Let me try and get it without knocking anything down. I am knitting this out of, you know, a very classic choice, Jamieson Shetland Spindrift in quite a few colors. I think I have like 8 or 9 colors. Again, it's a very traditional Fair Isle sweater where you're changing colors every couple rows. It's very complicated. Yes, I started this. This one's also not super old. I started it in March of this year. It was right after I had surgery, and I wanted something really complicated to pass the time while I was recovering. And I thought this was gonna be what I wanted to do. And I worked on it for like 2 or 3 days and then decided to scrap it. I didn't even show it on the podcast, I don't think. So yeah, this spring was when I started it, and then I took the needles out and wanted to go a different route. So the reason I decided to not finish this, it's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. I definitely recommend you go look up pictures of it. The silhouette is a little traditional for me. It is a steeked sweater, so it's knit all in kind of one piece. The body is knit in one piece, and then you steek the armholes, you steek the neck. If you're at all familiar with, you know, traditional Fair Isle sweater construction, it is that. And while I really liked the concept of the sweater and I really liked the color work, I wanted something that was a little bit more modern in silhouette. So what I think I'm gonna do, because again, the color work is stunning. I really, really like that and really want to have something similar in my wardrobe, is I think I'm gonna take the color work chart from the Raga pattern and make the Strange Brew sweater by Tin Can Knits out of it. So again, if you're not familiar, Tin Can Knits has a pattern. It's not really a pattern, it's more of a recipe for a colorwork sweater. It's called Strange Brew, and they basically give you the numbers and the increases you need to make any sort of colorwork sweater that you want. And I had a look at that pattern and kind of the numbers and the ratios, and I do think if I do it correctly and carefully that I could superimpose the Raga color charts onto the Strange Brew knitting pattern, and that is a circular yoke, which again, I think is just like a little bit more modern. I also decided I didn't love the corrugated ribbing at the bottom. It looks really cool, But again, I think it's like very traditional. I think a more modern choice would have been to just do regular 2x2 ribbing. So yes, I do think I'm gonna rip this out, which pains me because this corrugated ribbing was the biggest pain in my butt I've ever knit. I think the effect is really cool, but I hated knitting corrugated ribbing. It was a nightmare. So anyways, this sweater is getting frogged, but the concept will live on to a later date. As I've been doing, I will try this on for you, even though it's pretty much nothing, but let's try it on. I feel so silly trying this on because the sweater is like in belt stage. Like, it's a knitted belt. Let's call it what it is. But yes, here it is. It looks silly. But yeah, I mean, the fit is nice. It's a good size for me. But ultimately, I want to take this like very classic sweater pattern and modernize it a little bit. I think that will be something I will wear a lot more regularly. So she's getting frogged, but her memory will live on at some point in the future. This next one I am a bit on the fence about. It is, let me put this down. It is the No Frills pullover by PetiteKnit. I am knitting this out of 2 strands of yarn held together. I'm gonna have to go look up specifically what these yarns are, but I will put them on the screen once I confirm what they are. It is knit with a fingering weight. This is a hand-dyed skein of yarn by Lynai in the color, I want to say Tears or Teardrop. I don't believe Lynai Yarns is dyeing anymore. I don't think you can get this anymore, but it is this really nice, subtly speckled blue. And then I am holding that with some hand-dyed mohair. I believe this is Less Traveled Yarns in Whisper, I want to say. I'm amazed at my capacity to remember yarns. I haven't looked at this in like 3 years and I still remember what it's called. That's incredible. I should be studied. But yes, it's a really light kind of lavender gray, and then you probably, I mean, you can see it a little bit. It's got little flecks of darker blue in there. And together, it's making a really nice sweater. I started this, I want to say in the summer of 2019. It's kind of amazing how you get like memories associated with knitting projects. I feel like I got really sick that summer. I got like strep throat or something, not really sick, but like more than your common cold. I think I had strep throat or something that like definitely required antibiotics. And I started this sweater because I was feeling sad. Yes, sad and miserable about being sick. And that's what I think of every time I pull this out. I haven't made a decision on this yet, and I think I'm gonna have to try it on, which I will do in a minute, but my hesitation with this sweater is I feel like it might be too small. So we're gonna try it on and see. I was definitely a bit of a smaller person when I started this, and I remember picking kind of a smaller size. I was a little nervous about how much yarn I had, and so I picked the size that that used the yardage that I had, even though that size was like maybe not what I would have picked if I had the correct amount of yarn or unlimited amount of yarn. So it's definitely, the last time I tried it on, it was a bit, you know, bit more fitted, and that's fine. I might, you know, I might really like that. I really like this sweater. I really think this yarn is pretty and interesting. I'm not usually one for super speckled things, but I really liked this one. So yeah, let's try this on and see how it's going, and we will decide. Also, I don't even know how I would frog this. It's held with a mohair. I did helical knitting, so like there's lots of strands happening. Part of me would keep this just because like I feel like frogging this like wouldn't even be possible. I'd be curious if you have ever frogged a fingering weight and mohair anything, how that went, because I've heard that frogging mohair just like doesn't work. Like it's a real pain. So if you have any like tips about that, please let me know. I'm getting ahead of myself though. I don't know if I'm actually gonna rip this out. Let's try it on. All right, I'm really rooting for this one. I really want to keep it, but I'm nervous about fit. So let's see. It looks okay. It feels great. Oh yes. Okay. I was worried for nothing. This is wonderful. I do think, so I don't know if you can really tell, but I have started the ribbing. I think I started it a little too soon. You know, if we imagine that the ribbing keeps going for like 1.5 inches, 2 inches, I think this sweater will be a little too cropped. So I do think I might whip back and maybe knit another inch on the body and then start the ribbing, but I think I'm gonna keep this one. It's super cute. I love the light blue and I feel fancy in it. Look at my cute sweater. All right, this next one is deep from the vault. I am pretty confident that this is my oldest work in progress. I could not find any pictures of this sweater on Instagram. I think I started it before I even had Instagram. I think I was trying to think back to like, again, those memories that are tied to projects, like, you know, what my memories were from around this time. I think I started this before I even started grad school. And I was in grad school from 2015 to 2017. So I would estimate that I started this sweater probably in 2014 or 2015. It is 7 or 8 years old. And I'm definitely going to be frogging it for reasons that I will explain. It's not the pattern's fault. I have not frogged it because I'm afraid of it, to be quite honest. Anyways, this is the BlueSand Cardigan by La Maison Rililie. I'll put that on the screen. There's a lot of vowels. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. This is a really cute cardigan. I'm almost done with it. But it's got some nice raglan shaping, some saddle shoulders, some fun stripes, some texture. This cardigan has it all. I do still really like this pattern. I don't know if I'll knit it because, I don't know, I don't have yarn for it and I am trying to make things from my stash. It's like a maybe for the future. again, it's a great pattern. It's super fun. It's super interesting. There's lots of, you know, different phases of the pattern. And so I do really think it's like a very engaging knit. But my problems with it, and this is why I'm gonna frog it, there's several reasons. First are the colors I picked. I, at the time, really liked these colors. I like these colors individually. This pink is maybe like a little too bubblegum for me. I really love pink. I'm a big pink fan, but I do like more dusty pinks. And this one is just a little too much for me. I do still really like this bluish gray color, and then obviously I love white. But the pink is really throwing me off. It's not a shade of pink I would go for today. Secondly, I would say is the sizing. I will try this on for you in a minute, but again, this sweater is going on maybe 8 years old, and I was a much smaller person back then. You know, I was maybe 23 or 24 when I started this, and now I'm 31. So I don't know, I feel like a lot of people are not the same size as they were when they were in their early 20s. So, yeah, I'll try it on. It still fits technically, like I can still get it on, but it is like quite sausage casing like. Thirdly, my other big problem with it is the yarn I picked. So I knit this out of, I do not remember the colorways. I can maybe go look them up. I'll see if I can find them. But this is Cascade Pima cotton. So I decided to knit this out of a cotton yarn. And for no particular reason, I started this pretty early on in my knitting career. And I didn't quite realize at that point the different characteristics of different types of fiber. And so my vision for this was like a warm, snuggly, cozy cardigan, which would have been accomplished with wool, but I just picked cotton because why not? And I liked the colors, and I did not realize that the fabric would not have the feel that I was looking for. So that's like, I think kind of a classic like new knitter type of thing to do is, you know, you're just not as knowledgeable at that point about different fibers and what they're good for. You could definitely knit this out of cotton, like clearly, like it looks great, but it wasn't what I wanted. I really wanted a wool cardigan, but I didn't know at the time that cotton wouldn't also get me what I was looking for. So that's reason number 3. And then reason number 4, just like looking back at it, again, I was a relatively like newish knitter back then. I'd been knitting for a couple of years at that point, but I had like really started getting into it. My finishing on this sweater is terrible. I don't know if you can see, but like this is where I sewed in some ends. It's like pretty obvious when I put it on that there's just this like weird like disturbance in the fabric. And like looking at it, I'm like, why did I sew my ends in that way? Like I would definitely do it differently now. And yeah, I just like, I would never ever wear this. And I need to frog it. I'm afraid to frog it because there's so many, like, where did that sleeve go? Look at how many ends there are. This is just one sleeve. And just like, there's all these like short little blips of knitting, and the yarn is cut at all of those spots. And so I do want to frog this. I don't quite know what to do with this yarn. It is a cotton. I do wonder, I do think, so I am gonna frog it. I think once I rip it out, I'm gonna weigh the yarn. It is a DK weight yarn, and just see how much I have. I'm wondering if I maybe have enough of the bluish gray to make maybe a tank top or something like that. Again, something like a little bit more suited for cotton. I do think a tank top in this color would be really nice. It's just a matter of if I have enough yarn, or, you know, maybe I could, you know, make a blue tank top with white edging, just, you know, to make up the difference if I don't have enough. This pocket really stresses me out. Like, look at how little bits of pink and white I used in there. Again, the details on this pattern were amazing. Like, so many different engaging parts, but now ripping it out, it's like, those are the things that I'm most anxious about. So anyways, let me try this one on. I've been talking about it for almost 10 minutes, just to show you how it's fitting, but this one is gonna be getting ripped out once I work up the courage to tackle it. All right, here we go. Yes, I'm gonna put on, so I did start on one of the sleeves, and it is so tight. Like, I have to like work it, like really work it up my arm. I feel like I'm gonna rip it, but I can get it up around my arm. And then I have to like really reach. I'm tangled. Oh God. I don't know what's happening. Maybe there's like a piece of yarn that's like, I don't know what's going on here. Anyways, this is it. Again, it's really cute. If you love stripes, I think this is a really, really great pattern. It's so much fun to knit. But at this point, and like, I don't know, my I-cord edging was just a little tight, and so I feel like it's sitting weird. Because it's cotton, it's probably not gonna block out a ton. So like, if this were a wool sweater and it was looking like this, I would be like, it's fine, it'll block out. But with cotton, I think it's pretty set in its ways and won't change. So yeah, and like this little like strip of pink, like that's such a cute detail. But like, what am I gonna do with that piece of yarn? Nothing. It's gonna have to go in the garbage. So anyways, BlueSand Cardigan. Maybe I'll knit it again someday, but this one I think needs to go. Okay, let's talk about some good news, which is a sweater I am keeping. This is the Fisherquine Jumper by Christina, MacKenzie. I started this, I believe, in March or April of this year. If you've been watching my past videos, you may recognize this one. It's just a beautiful, all over cabled fisherman type sweater. And I absolutely love it. I have no idea why I stopped working on it. No good reason. Probably just got distracted by the next new shiny thing. But it's absolutely lovely. I feel like I would wear this all the time in the winter and just feel, I don't know, wintry? I can't think of an adjective. But it's just like a classic snowy day sweater, and I absolutely love it. The yarn I was using for it is, they're kind of wrapped up with each other, but this is, oh, what is it? La Biche Buche? Biche, it's Biche Buche Gros Mohair, which is a worsted Aran weight. I'm pretty sure this is just called Off-White. And then I am holding that together with some Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair, also in Off-White. And it just gives it like a little subtle, cozy halo. And yes, I love this one. Let me try it on for you so you can see how it fits, but this one's definitely getting kept. Okay, behold how beautiful this sweater is. It's stunning. Now that I'm trying it on, I do remember that I was a bit bothered by, I feel an intense need to fix my necklace. Okay, I was a bit bothered by how wide this neckline is, and it is a bit loose and floppy, which is not maybe my favorite. So, I do think when I pick this up again, I might try and run some elastic through here, like just like some like skinny elastic thread just to try and tighten it up a bit. But all in all, I think it looks great. Super cute. Just a big, cozy, cabled sweater. All right, we're at the last sweater project, this last sweater whip. This one is a little bit different for me. I started this in May of 2018, was the earliest Instagram picture I could find. This is the Rose cardigan by Andrea Mowry, and this cardigan came out in like the midst of the fade craze, which leads me to question, like, are fades still trendy? Are they still a thing? Do we care if they're not? I am definitely a proponent of knit what you like and what makes you happy, even if it's not like the most popular pattern or the most trendy pattern. Just do it. Anyways, this cardigan is knit in 4 panels that you end up seaming to make like it's front right, front left, back right, back left. And so I ended up knitting 1 full panel, and these colors are like screaming. These are all Hedgehog fibers. I forget. Well, actually, maybe I haven't forgotten. This orange, I want to say, is Pollen. Take all of this with a grain of salt. Again, I'm testing my capacity to remember things, but I'm pretty sure this is Pollen. I'll put all this on the screen if I'm incorrect. I'm pretty sure this is Guppy. This is Monarch, and this is Cereal. So I knit a full panel, and then I knit almost a full second panel before I decided to frog this. This one, I do maybe have intentions to knit it again. So the reason I frogged this initially, I think it's super fun. Obviously, these are not like my normal colors, but back then I was a little bit brighter. I sometimes like the idea of knitting some more brighter things just to like get myself out of my comfort zone. Also, this panel looks really bright. However, I find that the overall sweater is definitely more of this color, which for me is the Cereal. This is the most neutral, obviously, of all the colors. And I do feel like overall, visually, the cardigan is mostly this color, and then these just kind of get accented down the sleeve. So again, while I think this panel is really bright, I think as the overall sweater comes together, it definitely gets toned down because this middle color is much more prominent. But the big reason I frogged this is because the sweater is a sport weight sweater, and I decided that gauge meant nothing and that I could knit it with a fingering weight, which is what this is. This is, I think, twist sock. Excuse me. I have trouble saying certain words. I have really bad vocal fry, and like they get stuck in my throat and I have trouble with it. So this is Twist Sock by Hedgehog Fibres. It's a fingering weight, not a sport weight, and my gauge is like super off. So at some point I had this like, what was I thinking moment, and decided that I needed to stop knitting this because it was completely incorrect. So I might reknit this again someday. I still really like the pattern. I think it's a fun construction. The details are fun. Like there's this little cable that runs down. My idea was to reknit it, but holding this yarn with a strand of tan mohair. That would A, get me to the gauge that I needed, and B, would also tone down the colors a little bit. It would still be pretty bright and fun, but I do think running a strand of like neutral colored mohair would just tone it down a little, which is really more my vibe, just a little. So yeah, this one is getting frogged, but I do think it might get revisited in the future. I don't know how often I would wear this. Again, I think it might be nice to just have a couple like wacky sweaters. This isn't even that wacky, but something that's a little bit out of my comfort zone to just like wear around the house, like a robe. Yes, or maybe I'll finish it and I'll love it and I'll wear it out in public, but that's my plan with this one. I'm not sure if I'll reknit it, but I'm leaning towards yes. I think it would be really fun. And it's just like this exciting play with color, and that's not something I usually do. But I'm just like really attracted to the concept. And the idea of letting it go forever is just, I don't know, I'm not ready to say I'm never gonna knit this again. So this will be a little bit of a mystery for you all moving forward. I obviously can't try it on, it's in pieces, but you know, this is kind of the idea. And yeah, beautiful cardigan. Maybe we'll see it again someday. And that is all of my sweater projects. So again, there is a part 1 to this video if you want to go back and see the other half of my sweater whips. But all in all, I went through 12 sweater whips and I am frogging 5 of them, which leaves me with 7, which is still a lot, but it's much less intimidating than 12. We're at least in the single digits. So again, thank you for watching this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Or I'm trying to call these videos, not episodes, because it's not really like an episode of anything. It's a video. Next week, I am trying to film weekly. No promises that I'll like stick to that like super consistently, but it is my goal. So next week, my plan is to take a little bit of a break from my whips and talk a bit about future plans. So, you know, my winter knitting plans, the projects that I really want to be working on this coming winter. So again, if you liked this video, please subscribe so you can be notified when I post things in the future. And I will talk to you all next week about my winter knitting exciting plans. Thanks everyone. See you later.